I'm Ayla.
I'm Mickey.
And I'm Aaron, aka Be Lucky.
You're watching
MD90.
That's right. And we the unapologetic
Nomadic.
For a protracted period of time, Gary Nkombo has always been dragged in these alleged conflicts within the UPND. So even the recent happening that's been dominating the airwaves the past couple of hours, he has been dragged in it again. So if you remember earlier on, Gary Nkombo was fired from his ministerial position. Should have been like a year ago now, if not 2 years ago. And then people are alleging to say he's likely to go into the opposition. He put up a statement. He has no intentions of doing that. And then just yesterday, when President Hakainde Hichilema fired the Minister of Health and also Minister of SME, it seems like he has been tagged in it. And there are allegations to say the reason why these people have been fired, these recent ministers, is because they voted against Bill 7. If you remember that bill, that was very contentious in Parliament. So again, Gary Nkombo's name has come up and a number of people have been listed. So that's been the conversation in the past couple of days. And every one of the individuals has come to their defense stating to say why they were fired. And pretty much saying it has nothing to do with Bill 7. One of the people that was quick to respond was the former Minister of Health, the man that was fired just a couple of hours ago. I responded, and according to them on TV, he says, it's normal to be fired, Muchima says. So, former Minister of Health Elijah Muchima has described his dismissal as Minister of Health as normal, saying such decisions are part of governance and not unusual, even in other countries. Speaking in an interview with them on News following his removal from his cabinet, from cabinet by President Hakainde Hichilema, Mr. Muchima says his support for the head of state remains steadfast, stressing that his loyalty is based on principles and the direction of the country is taking, not on holding a government position. Mr. Muchima was relieved of his duties together with former small and medium enterprise development minister Elias Mubanga. Says he stood with President Hichilema even when the party was in opposition and had no cabinet positions, and sees no reason to withdraw that support now. He has further dismissed allegations raised by Chief Tayari that the dismissal is as a result of voting against Bill 7 as mere speculation. Nothing that appointment and dismissal remains a prerogative of the appointing authority, referring to the president. So that's a statement coming from the former Minister of Health, simply saying, yes, I've been fired, which is normal, but it's not on the grounds because I voted against or didn't vote against Bill 7. But these allegations were pushed by Chief Tayari mostly to say, and he alleged a number of names. So he named these two ministers that were fired, and he dragged Gary Nkombo in this conversation also. So the minister responded to that. And then obviously JJ Banda was quick also to jump on the bandwagon, simply saying, hey, Chief Tayari, please leave Honorable Gary Nkombo alone. He's very loyal member of United Party for National Development, UPND. Mazembe Oye, Gary Nkombo is very loyal to the people of Zambia. So I don't know if that message from Manuel J. Banda is very coded or whatever it means there, but pretty much Gary Nkombo has been dragged in this. A number of conversations he has stated. I think he's put up, if not 3 videos from the time that he was fired, to say he has no intentions of leading the UPND. He suffered for the party. Now that the party has won the leadership of the country, he has no reason to step out at this point, because if he was to step out or to start any within internal wrangles, he would have started them when they were in opposition. So if he stuck it through, then why can't he stick it through now? Same response that has come from Mr. Muchima, the former Minister of Health there. And then Mano Mwamba doubled down. That's the former ambassador to South Africa and Ethiopia. Says Gary Nkombo, Elijah Muchima, and Romeo Kangombe Newton's Makai and Elias Mwanga refused to vote for Bill 7. So that allegation was doubled down. So when Chief I already mentioned those people, it didn't catch much wave, but when Mwanama Mwamba did the same thing, now everybody was involved. Romeka Ngombe responded immediately when that went up. That's one of the people that was named to say why the president has sidelined most of these individuals is because they did not vote for Bill 7. And as a result, they didn't prove their loyalty allegedly. So Romeka Ngombe responded immediately and he says, disregard this propaganda about me. I am focused and a true commandant, simply saying he's still loyal to President Hakainde Hichilema and no allegations peddled by Emmanuel Mwamba have any truth to them. So he doubles down with that. And then George was quick to respond to Emmanuel Mwamba. He says, are you asking or are you saying this as a fact? He asks Emmanuel Mwamba to say these people that you've mentioned. How wouldn't we know who voted for or voted against when we know how many MPs that we have? If I know I cannot count 100 United Party for National Development members of parliament, or members, and I see 96 votes, I know some of the people did not vote for Bill 7. So he simply says, yes, he's aware. So I don't know if that list has been reviewed, and that's the list that the president is using when executing his duties. Those are just allegations. So George goes further to say, so you are making these accusations and thinking we wouldn't know. You guys instantly knew who voted for and started explaining them from your parties. So why wouldn't we know? Or are you trying to cause a fraction within the party, Mwamba? So he says, just like the PF, because once the Bill 7 vote went through, PF started explaining some members of parliament, and they said some members of parliament were known that had voted for Bill 7. So if an opposition party like Patriotic Front could know the members of parliament that did not vote for them, what of the ruling party? So George Mutonga simply saying, we already know who didn't vote or who voted for that. So I don't know if he's confirming or not. And he goes further to say, United Party for National Development members who fall short should be prosecuted by the party and its leadership, not Chifetayari, he says. Our members fought for the man fought for this man over Hakainde, referring to Chifetayari and Emmanuel Mwamba. And even when our members have failed at a task of loyalty, their dignity should still be maintained. That of a bona fide loyal member of the party is one of the and one not to prosecute them. Tayari has no basis to prosecute any member of the United Party for National Development. So when those names were published, simply saying Chief Tayari has no grounds to or authority to start issuing who did not vote for Bill 7 and who should be and why they've been fired. And pretty much, it looks like, yes, Chief Tayari might have some facts to what he's saying, or he's simply shooting in the dark. But it's like this succession thing within the UPND is festering, because one thing that is noticeable, the UPND would have dispelled these allegations immediately. If you go on their platform, they have not addressed any of these issues. All the individuals named on this list are addressing it themselves. As you saw, Romeka Ngombe, he responded, that was on his personal platform. And the former minister of health also responded on his personal capacity and also had his personal interview with Diamond TV. But when you go on the UPND page, you will not find any of this being addressed. So it's like within the party, there might be, yes, people registering for, let's say, President Hakainde Hichilema wins the August elections, who takes over in 2031. Maybe that's where the conversation is. So everyone is trying to work around kicking out who they can kick out from that race. It seems like that's what it is. So if Chief Tayari has got access to that information, then who provided him with that information? Consider he's living out of the country. So George Mutonga simply, he even tags Chief Tayari, says Chief Tayari is the last person to fight UPND battles in this sense. And it seems like George also had some access to some information. He says, if we are to discipline our members, let it be an internal issue, not something that is propagated by Emmanuel Mwamba or Chief Tayari there. What is Oliver Shala says, in politics, just like in all human endeavors, never celebrate anyone's fall, because you can or will also fall one day. Be thankful of all your opportunities. So he's simply saying that they recently fired the members of parliament, ministers. That could be anybody any day. So don't celebrate their downfall. And then as Manuel was doing this, he was even reading a book called The Art of War. And you can see there, and then George Mutonga says, Emmanuel Mwamba is reading The Art of War. If you've never read it, go ahead and read it. Seems like that's what's going on. And then people are quick to respond to Emmanuel Mwamba. Harry Shula says, please do not bring issues between Gary Nkombo and the United Party for National Development, especially with the president, Hakainde Hichilema. Let them have a good time. They have come a long way. And then Emmanuel Mwamba responds to him, Neri Muti to release the list. So Emmanuel Mwamba demands, okay, fine. If you are saying Gary Nkombo did not vote voted in line with what the UPND wanted with regard to Bill 7, then let the Speaker of the National Assembly simply publicize, make the list public of the way the votes happened. And that's what Emmanuel seems like he's doubling down. Seems like people might have access to this list of people that voted for or against, or they're simply shooting in the dark in an effort to cause some confusion within the UPND. And then he doubles down. This is still Emmanuel Mwamba says, Nelly Muti, that's the Speaker of the National Assembly, must release the list of Bill 7. We have many heroes from the United Party for National Development, UPND. Out of the 162 members of parliament, only 136, including PF 30 members of parliament, voted. So simply saying, the numbers indicate it's either they decided to abscond or they voted against. But if you remember, the votes against were very minimal. So maybe it might have been an issue of absconding or staying away from the vote in that regard. So if it's published, then what happens next? So it seems like this story of the recently fired members of parliament and ministers, best of that action. What is Mao Sampa says, the United Party for National Development, UPND in opposition. It was Elias Mubanga, that's the minister that was fired yesterday, in Shibwangandu, and the late Mr. Mubi in Mpika district, that were lone soldiers fighting for Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND in Mchinga province. They soldiered on until the win in 2021. Thus wonders why nominated member of parliament Elias has been fired. So it seems like that member of parliament, the minister of SME was actually a nominated member of parliament. So as the president, if he's going to fill those positions, he has to nominate a new member of parliament. I don't know if he's been kicked out of his nomination too in parliament, or he maintains his nomination, and just loses his ministerial position. The president will advise. He's addressing the nation in a couple of hours, and we'll find out that. And then George Mutonga says, Romeo Kangombe is a warrior who became a politician. He is a soldier with all his feet planted standing. They are soldiers of the party. I can tell you for a fact he is not involved. They want to bring him in because they know their tricks and attack the future of the party. You can never attack the past. You have to attack its past. So Romeo Kangombe is being defended there by George Mutonga, and then obviously that thing being posted. I will wait until our leaders. I'll wait for our leaders to provide direction. Otherwise, if at all what I have heard is true, it will be very disappointing. So it seems like even George Mutonga has access to this information. I don't see why the speaker would be compelled to publicize that list at this point. It does not serve the purpose of the ruling government if the numbers don't look well, people that didn't vote for them. So I don't see them making that list public. But it seems like some people are alleging to have that list of people who voted against Bill 7 or absconded. So George Mutonga seems to be disappointed of the names that is found on that list, allegedly. And then President Hakainde just about 23 minutes ago, I put up that post simply saying, finalizing my speech for tomorrow, what are your expectations? He asks Bali. So he's in his office writing his own speech. As you are aware, the president is addressing Parliament for the last time before we go to the vote. This will be the last time that the president will be in Parliament addressing the nation. It should be about principles of moral values and something of that nature. That's the grounds for tomorrow's address. So people are alleging to say that's when the president is also going to announce the new ministers for health and also SME. That's if he's going to replace them. And obviously the opposition has responded to that, simply saying, why would you even bother firing people 2 months before Parliament is dissolved, or 2 months, pretty much saying just leave them open, or you should have just let those people run their race. Obviously, one of the people is Hakainde Mwenda. He says, Mr. President Hakainde, the nation has just received media speculation that you have fired 2 cabinet ministers, Honorable Muchima and Honorable Muwanga. Firstly, it is unethical and professional to fire senior cabinet ministers through Facebook leaks in such a careless manner as if there is no gazetted procedure and responsible state institutions. These colleagues of yours whom you appointed on your own worked with you at a very senior and intimate proximity. And such unprofessional firing reflects poorly on you and your leadership. Such conduct insults your integrity and self-worth. Remember to carry your decisions with respect and with a measure of decorum befitting an important office. Secondly, this is very important development. In the next time, please inform the nation in a dignified manner as we await for details. So that was EFF President Hakainde Mwenda simply saying the way those ministers were fired is unethical according to him, and even other leaders from the opposition responded to that. And then you saw that book that Emmanuel Mwamba was reading, which is the Art of War. What is the president Hakainde Hichilema was coming up with his speech there. He's also reading the Art of War and Peace. That's the book that the president is reading. So it seems like everybody is ready for whatever happens. I mean, peace or whatever it is. The books that they're reading are very interesting. So that was the president there preparing for tomorrow. And then we think he should fire himself. Akangiwa, that's according to Fred Membe's reaction, simply saying instead of just firing the ministers, the president Hakainde Hichilema should fire himself. Actually, that's according to Fred Membe, socialist president. So you can see that book on the table of the president. And I also see a degree from the University of Zambia. I don't know if that's the honorary degree that he received for his doctorate from the University of Zambia, or it's actually his undergraduate degree. But if you look at the table there, just at the far end there, near the picture frame, there's a degree from the University of Zambia. There, though I can't see what exactly qualification is there. So the president is preparing his speech tomorrow. If he's making new appointments or they're going to be vacant until Parliament is dissolved, that will be announced. Binwo Mpundu also commented. He says firing 2 months to go. I think Mwakambale's stepfather. In fact, no need for replacements. We are used to the incompetency in all the ministries. So simply saying, don't even bother replacing those ministers at this point, just 2 months before Parliament is dissolved. Let them just stay vacant. That's Binwo Mpundu's reaction. And then Harika also weighs in, says the cabinet reshuffles ill-timed. So simply saying the timing of these firings do not sit well. It's too late to make any changes in 2 months' time when those people won't be in office in 2 months. So what's the point at this point? That's Harika. He writes a different article there. And pretty much the real time says health and SMEs ministers fired. That's according to that newspaper. News Diggers says Hakainde Hichilema fires Muchima and Muwanga. And yeah, that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Have a beautiful day.